Senate Education, Health, and Environmental Affairs Committee, and I have three pieces of legislation. I'll just touch on them very briefly because I think they were all introduced in the past. There's Hoco 5-21, which concerns redetermination of geographic attendance areas for the Board of Education. Just to be clear and just to emphasize again, this does not require redistricting of the Board of Ed. It really just has them report back to the delegation when we are outside of certain target utilization boundaries. There's Hoco 7-21, which allows for greater public testimony as part of the redistricting process. And then there's Hoco 3-21 concerning alcoholic beverage inspectors, making it a little easier for our inspectors to do their
I represent
work.
District 13 in the Maryland General Assembly, and I serve as Vice Chair of the Judiciary Committee. I have three pieces of local legislation that we are hearing this evening. First, Hoco 1221. This is a reintroduction from last year. And I should say this is being amended to add Delegate Terrace's name on here. Who that is, I've apologized to her. I'm publicly apologizing. I got this in just in the deadline. And everyone knows that she has been a champion for affordable housing, and she's quite frankly taught me a lot about this issue. So this is a reintroduction. I am aware that there is the county's Housing Opportunity Master Plan Task Force that is happening. And quite frankly, last year, the agreement was the bill was to be withdrawn pending the outcome of that. The outcome of that isn't happening until March. And we will be meeting beginning in January. So we will still be meeting pending the outcome. So I had my own deadline. So I had to put this in. I also have Howard County 1121, which has to do with charging an excise tax fee that would be the proceeds of which, or revenue of which, would go directly to the school system. For deferred maintenance projects, we currently have $338 million worth of deferred maintenance projects. This is also a reintroduction, and I think COVID has taught us how important ventilation is, particularly when students return to our schools. So I do think this is incredibly important for the delegation to take a look at this year. Certainly those who work in our commercial buildings here, participate in our community, have kids that go to the schools here and benefit from our school system.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jonathan Rivlin, and I am from the Font Hill neighborhood. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak. I wanted to testify on 5 bills. I will do my best to come in pretty quickly. 4 of the bills, 5-21, 07-21, 11-21, and 12-21, I'm in favor of all of these. I wanted to just recount a story that I actually told last year at last year's version of this meeting. All these bills have this one thing in common. They're trying to fix a broken mechanism for addressing growth in our county, concentrations of poverty, and what to do with our existing infrastructure. To me, the county has been relying too heavily on redistricting as pretty much the only tool for dealing with that and trailers. Now, redistricting can be used to good effect at times, but it's being overused. At a certain point, the county is just going to have to build new schools, and not just new schools, but schools with different floor plans to take into account the lack of available land. So to all that, I'll leave it to the people talking on behalf of organizations going to the details. I'll just tell you the story. In May of 2019, myself and a bunch of other parents from our neighborhood, we went to testify at a planning board hearing, a quasi-judicial hearing on the Centennial Reserve project. This project exemplifies the problems that all 4 of these bills are trying to address. And I should note that the developer in their plan, they used the blue rule as part of their plan. In that hearing, I was nominated to represent the parents, and we were met with the wall of bureaucratic objections and challenges. The developer had really good counsel, and we had me. All we wanted to say was that this project shouldn't go forward because the Centennial High School District was, at that point, over 110% capacity, and this development would only exacerbate it. At every stage, we couldn't even say those words. The planning board was more concerned with tree canopies and stormwater management. And the hearing officer told us to take up overcrowding with the Board of Education. Ironically, and you can't make this up, one of the witnesses that I called was a member of the Board of Ed. She was there in her capacity as a resident that will be affected by the project. But I got to tell you, folks, it was surreal to watch two different arms of my government bounce me back and forth. Take it up with the Board of Ed. The Board of Ed can't stop overcrowding, only the DPZ can. And of course, the project inevitably passed the Apfo tests. It makes me wonder why we even have it. It's like a law with no teeth. I then recounted this story to a county council meeting later that year and was told that there's just nothing that can be done. So now I'm here telling you guys, you're the leaders of the county. You got to take action on this issue. It's only going to get worse, and you have to enact these bills. As far as 11-21, the excise tax, I'm torn. As a businessman myself, raising taxes in this current environment is not a good thing to do, and yet we have schools that can't lock their doors. So I offer these suggestions. One, set a termination mechanism. Once the backlog has been quantified and the funding has been raised, the surcharge should go away. Two, broaden the scope. This is a community-wide problem, and the burden should be shared by all of us, not just businesses. And then, barring the previous two suggestions, the needed source of funding should be added to the school surcharge fees under the existing Apfo rules.
All right, good evening. My name is Jennifer Broderick. I live in Columbia, Maryland, and I'm Executive Director of Bridges to Housing Stability, a Howard County nonprofit that has been focused on providing affordable housing solutions for low-income residents of the county for the past 30 years. Thank you to the Howard County delegates for your time and attention this evening. I want to speak in opposition to Bill Hoco 1221, prohibiting fee in lieu in Howard County, and in favor of Bill 1521, fee for rental housing services. Bridges to Housing Stability has been fortunate to be granted fee in lieu funds that has helped us rehouse 107 households in sustainable, affordable housing since 2013. 95% of households sustain their housing long-term. These are low-income working households that make between 30 and 60% of Howard County median income. 3 separate Howard County rental surveys since 2014 have confirmed that the greatest need in affordable housing is for rental housing for those making between 30 and 60% of the area median income, our target population. If this legislation is passed, Bridges will lose vital programs that help these renters and their families rent and keep affordable units in the county. I'm aware also from speaking with planning and zoning and housing developers that current infrastructure in much of Western Howard County cannot support multifamily housing units such as condos and townhomes at this time, which many developers would prefer to build if this legislation passes, but the substantial infrastructure changes needed would make it cost prohibitive. Instead, they would likely build single-family detached homes for purchase as MIHUs for families at 80% of Howard County median income. This doesn't serve the population that has the greatest need for housing in Howard County and comes at a cost of losing programs that serve hard-working, low-income families. Bridges works hard to leverage fee in lieu funds we receive to maximize impact and serve more people annually. Bridges has steadily grown these programs, serving at least 10% more households each year. We hope to continue this growth in service for these vulnerable households. As a member of the Howard County Housing Opportunities Task Force this year, working on Housing Opportunities Master Plan, there are many exciting initiatives and housing opportunities that will be brought forth through this plan in the next few months, bringing much needed housing solutions to the county, and fee in lieu funds can be used for creative solutions to the county's housing issues. I ask that you please vote no on Bill 1221.
I am Joe Wilmot, testifying on behalf of Howard County Housing Affordability Coalition in regard to Hoco 12-21. This proposed legislation, similar to Hoco 11-20 proposed last year, prohibits payment of a fee in lieu of a requirement that a developer provide moderate income housing units in a new residential development project. It is our understanding that Hoco 11-20 did not proceed last year because the Housing Opportunities Master Plan Task Force had begun work on a comprehensive plan that would likely address the issue of MIHU and fee in lieu. Now, 1 year later, the task force has recently issued draft recommendations that address MIHU and fee in lieu as anticipated. Indeed, the first three draft recommendations are update MIHU rules and team structures with the primary goal of producing more units throughout the county that are integrated within communities. Second, include incentives to encourage the production of additional affordable or accessible units within the MIHU baseline rules. Third, ensure redevelopment plans include clear policies for meeting affordable housing needs, including MIHUs. The coalition anticipates a productive discussion within the Housing Opportunities Master Plan process to fully explore ways to improve the MIHU program. With 23 housing experts and numerous consultants having conducted 8 months of study eliciting numerous comments from the community, we are hopeful that the final MIHU proposals will both advance affordable housing goals and find widespread support in the community. We look forward to working with the bill sponsors to reach an understanding of what legislation, if any, will further this effort. Thank you very much.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you all. This is Lisa Markovitz, President of the People's Voice Ellicott City, speaking tonight in support of Local Bill 11 and 12. I'll start with 11. To be brief on this one. All development, residential and commercial, are benefited by the success of our school system and reap the rewards of those who wish to locate here, dine and shop here, hopefully way more so after the pandemic recovery. I just wanted to make a quick statement about the earmarking for deferred maintenance. I'm hoping that that can apply to updating that isn't necessarily deferred maintenance, but updating HVAC systems to include UV light scrubbing and helping install more air quality improvements for our school system. So thank you. And on Bill 12, support for elimination of fee in lieu of providing affordable housing in Howard County residential development. Affordable housing is a very important topic in our county. How to increase supply is the subject of task forces, committees, planning groups, and the sourcing of it by location and funding is being analyzed heavily. It is easy to understand that having a fee in lieu of providing moderate income housing that is required in varying degrees in development will concentrate that housing to locations with lower market pricing. That is due to the lower cost differential between market price and affordable price, thus making the fee more profitable to pay in areas with higher market prices. To get more spread out affordable housing, the fee should be eliminated. Any logistical problems with implementing that MIHU program related to a specific project could be handled with allowing an alternative compliance, but those should be restrained to the same geographic area and derived not by unit per unit, but by equal monetary value for off-site provision. It is understandable to be concerned about the fee in lieu program funding actually being replaced in the county budget. I have attached a report to my emailed testimony with data on this revenue and how it is used. It was provided by Kelly Simino of the Department of Housing to the Housing Opportunities Task Force and provided to the County Council. It doesn't have complete data on expenditures, but does show some location details about receipts. A concern is that the funds are in part used to assist development projects directly that provide more affordable than required even prior to plan submissions. This is an expensive way to get a small amount of increased supply. Enforcing current requirements would be so much cheaper for the county. Other noted expenditures show that created supply is mostly in specific locations. That concentration then also results in fund percentage increases at those area schools, a topic of much contention to resolve when redistricting discussions occur. Hopefully, amounts that relate to helping individuals and programs that won't be assisted by the benefits of eliminating fee in lieu can be replaced in the budget, since that is a much lower figure, more like $200,000 a year in 2019 versus the $1 to $3 million average revenue totals. Sharing infrastructure support responsibility is important, as is spreading out affordable supply and thus diversifying neighborhoods and therefore then schools. This all can be done, well, more affordably to the county. This system needs an overhaul. If we don't eliminate the fees, they at least need to be much higher. Thank you, and thank you to Delegate Atterbeary and Teresa for your continued efforts.
I can hear you. Go ahead.
Great, thank you. I'm Brent Lovelace, President of the PTA Council of Howard County. We just met last night in the dark, socially distanced, to do unanimous votes on 5 separate positions relating to legislation that you're discussing this evening. The first is 5-21, dealing with redistricting. We have a recommendation if we are going to go through the effort of evaluating redistricting with the school board. We recommend an amendment to fund or allocate 3 full-time engineers, preferably from state academia, such as University of Maryland, for data analysis, GIS modeling, programming of queries to facilitate the most efficient and equitable implementation of Howard County Public School System Policy 6010 criteria. This is something we mildly worked on with Ms. Hester last year, and we hope you consider that as a way to reach the goals of Policy 6010 going forward. And it possibly can save the school system and state tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars over its lifespan. In addition, Bill 721, also dealing with redistricting notice, we recommend the Howard County Delegation, the school system, and the Policy 6010 Committee, which I'm currently on, review this bill separately because many of the concerns are actually being drafted in a new redistricting policy by the school system and may affect this bill or the need for this bill. Howard County Bill 1121, building excise tax for deferred maintenance. Our delegation of all the schools of Howard County agreed unanimously to support this. Obviously, they want to address deferred maintenance, and we support with the with an amendment that the county publicly report to the delegation yearly on all dedicated and discretionary capital funding sources, including but not limited to school surcharge, excise tax, transfer tax, recordation fees, TIF financing, personal property, PPP revenues, income and property, and like-kind density exchanges, as well as leases, charters, and agreements with other state and federal agencies. We need to know where our funding is coming from, what we need to fund our school system, and what we need to advocate with a trend over time to make sure that we determine the sufficient capital funding for future schools. In regards to 1221, fee in lieu, PTAC does not support fee in lieu mechanisms that intentionally exacerbate concentrations of poverty, requiring additional interventions off-site of new enrollment growth areas. I happen to also sit on this much touted housing task force, which literally its recommendations from mostly individuals in the development industry are seeking slight increases to MIHU fees. We are very concerned within that housing task force that we do no harm while doing affordable housing policy to the overcrowding situation in Howard County, as well as not exacerbating concentrations of poverty within anywhere within the school system where we may require additional redistricting in order to adjust farms rates and get to optimum levels. As always, the delegation is welcome to visit us. We have been very constrained this year because of a delayed schedule and COVID and in-person meeting requirements. And typically we would have had you as our guest prior to this. But we are definitely willing to work with you through the legislative cycle to make sure that we can get the resources to support our kids and promote equity throughout Howard County. Thank you very much for listening.
Mr. Enton with the Maryland Building Industry Association. It looks like you're testifying on several bills. I think you have on 2 bills. I think you have 4 minutes.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
My name is Robert Enton. I'm an attorney and I represent the Maryland Building Industry Association. That is the statewide trade association for Maryland home builders. And we are in opposition to Bill 12-21. I just want to say that we have been actively participating in the development of the Housing Opportunities Master Plan. I think as you heard from some other witnesses early this evening, that is a work in progress. They will come up with recommendations. And I watched Delegate Atterbeary get interviewed by a gentleman who had a flag in his background, and they talked about her bills. And I appreciated the fact that she mentioned that she was anxious to see what the outcome of the this task force would be. So I think we have to look at this, see what the task force recommends, and see where we go from here. I would just point out that the fee in lieu, in our opinion, what it does is it allows the county to have funding to make sure that there is affordable housing for everyone in the county. According to the County Department of Housing and Community Development, fee in lieu revenues are by far the largest dedicated income stream for affordable housing in the county. In 2019, the county received roughly $3.5 million from the fee in lieu. We think that the current fee in lieu program makes affordable housing available. The revenue funds county-based nonprofits like Bridges to Housing Stability, Living in Recovery, Building Together, and iHomes. So we look forward to working with the sponsor and with the delegation and see where this goes. The other bill that I'm here to testify on, and also in opposition, is 19-20, which will create a commercial building excise tax. So you might ask, why do the home builders care about that? Well, many of the projects that our members build are mixed use projects where they're both commercial and residential. And I would just say to you that with what's going on in the marketplace right now, to impose a tax on the construction of commercial properties at a time when we don't even know what's going to happen with commercial properties, with everyone working remotely, what the commercial market is going to be like in the future on account of COVID. I don't think there's any of us that are working in their offices. I haven't been in my office in downtown Baltimore since the first week of March. Everybody's working remotely, and it really puts in question what is the future of commercial property. So for those reasons, at this time, we would also be opposed to Bill 19-20. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to testify.
Thank you.
Getting rid of the fee in lieu in Bill 12, I find, as other people testified, that the fee is too small. It should be encouraging the development. But if it's too small, they're just going to pay the fee. On the other hand, there are some developments that it's not practical, and I don't understand what the solution is. Apparently, the developer then doesn't have to do either, and that doesn't make any sense.
Those are scheduled. Seeing no other questions or comments from members of the delegation, I think we'll go ahead and wrap up here. I'd like to thank my co-chair, Delegate Feldmark, for leading the first half of this meeting as well. And thank you all for your attendance. Stay safe, and we'll see you sometime soon. Take care.